Hello, everyone. This is Jorge Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I'm bringing you another episode of what used to be defining Infusionsoft Success. And I've got to come up with a new name for the program because the company's name is now Keep, and I haven't come up with anything yet. So anyway, here's our next episode, and my guest this time is Greg Jenkins. Greg, how are you?
George, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back.
Cool. Yeah, you've been here before. You were here probably under your Monkey Pod marketing name because we recommend your training a lot. But this time we're kind of talking about a topic, and we actually have a lot of fun prepping for this just because there's a lot here. But Greg released a video, probably about a 35-minute video on an adventure that we're going to talk about with the African Leadership University. That really is the name of the company. I'm not kidding you here. So he's got a case study that he documented for a bunch of different reasons, and it shows how marketing automation worked in an environment that, even though it's Africa and halfway across the world, it really applies to small businesses. And I thought it was really a worthwhile discussion for the typical business owner to think about, how does marketing automation fit into my business? So with that, Greg, why don't you kind of get started? Now, we're going to be publishing this, and if you're watching this somewhere around here, there's a link to his video because it's really worthwhile watching. But so this is going to be a precursor to that to give you an idea of why we think watching this video is good for a small business owner.
Great. Yeah. So in a nutshell, the African Leadership University is a network of universities around Africa. And the project I worked on was in 2016. They were launching a school of business, launching an MBA program specifically, and it was at a brand new campus on the ground in Mauritius. And for anyone who doesn't know Mauritius, I didn't know at the time, Mauritius is an island nation. It is east of Madagascar. So if you know Africa mainland, Madagascar is off the southeast coast, and then another 500 miles or so into the Indian Ocean is the island of Mauritius. So this was all literally and figuratively very foreign to me. But the project itself, it presented some challenges that are not too unlike the things that I have faced with MonkeyPod, or that my customers have faced, or that small businesses all around the world have faced. They were launching a new product. The product happened to be an MBA program, and they needed to raise awareness about it. They needed to help guide their prospective students through the process of discovering the university, deciding to apply, and then guiding them through the application journey, and then keeping in touch with them as they awaited their admissions decision. So
right. And by the way, just to step in here, for anyone who's thinking, hey, Africa, what third world country, whatever, just think of Phoenix University. They've got to hire a bunch of students, and it's the same process. This is actually, if you look at the video, this is not some poor little university. It's a successful university. They got campuses all over the world, and they attract talent from outside of Africa.
Yeah, that's correct. So the African continent is actually comprised of 54 very unique countries, and they're not all struggling in the way that I think a lot of Westerners tend to think about Africa. There's a lot of affluence in Africa. There's a lot of intelligence in Africa, a lot of talent in Africa. But unfortunately, there is a problem which is called brain drain, where a lot of the most qualified and capable Africans leave the continent for education and then don't wind up going back. So the mission of the African Leadership University was to create a premier institution on the continent with an African network and an African lens and African educators dedicated to creating the next generation of ethical and entrepreneurial leaders that will transform the default future of the African continent, which, by the way, has 1 billion people living on it. So,
right. So they've got to recruit people for an MBA program. It's as simple as that, which is, we're all trying to find customers. We're trying to educate them on our program. We're trying to, get them from lead to prospect to, someone who's actually applying, and then eventually, signing up. And you guys went from, you guys recruited 50 students for 1 semester in 4 months. That's kind of the, one of the bylines that you shared.
Yeah. So as this project started, Fred, the founder of AOU. I had met through a different connection. And Fred had reached out to me and said, "Hey, I started this university. I think I need some CRM." You know, that's sort of what he said. "I think I need some CRM stuff." And I talked to Fred for a while, who incidentally is probably the most capable and accomplished human I have ever met in person, but that's a different story for a different day. And so I described to Fred, "Hey, yeah, here's what I think you should do. But I don't think you just need some CRM. I think you need a marketing team. I think you need a marketing director. And by the way, Infusionsoft can do a lot of these things, but it's going to take a human, a full-time position for someone to do this." And he offered to hire me at the time to do it. But as you know, I love what I do with MonkeyPod marketing. And this was back in 2016. So I really had just been doing MonkeyPod for about a year. And I wasn't ready to, I didn't feel like I can't just leave and walk away. I'm in the middle of building something that I believe in. But I wound up connecting him with a friend of mine, Justin. And he hired Justin to lead and build the marketing team for the School of Business. And yeah, we were up to some pretty, and Justin turned around and hired me for 12 or 15 hours a week to enroll me in the project. But we were up against some pretty daunting deadlines. This was in about April. And there was a semester starting in August. And so we had whatever that is, 5 or 6 months. And we needed to fill that first cohort for the MBA program that was launched.
No small business ever comes to me asking me to do something without enough time, without enough budget, and without enough staff. It never happens, right?
Yeah, it's tough because I tell this story, and when I share this story, it's easy for people to disconnect from it because it's a university, because it's in Africa, because they make these assumptions about what that means. But the truth is there were 3 of us. We were a team of 3. It was Justin, myself, and we had an intern in Mauritius. His name was John. By the way, John was a Harvard grad, so he's 22 years old, but this kid knows what he's doing. So we set out to recruit and to develop a pipeline and to ultimately guide those people towards becoming students. And in that 4 or 5 month window, we generated 25,000 leads. We of those 25,000, 1,000 completed their application.
Okay, so that means that you were emailing, social media, and somehow connecting with, what was the number? 25,000 you said?
25,000 leads, yeah, and 1,000 people actually finished their application, and then we ultimately, I think we had 54 enrolled students attend when the August campus or August semester started.
Okay, yeah. So that people, again, you can watch the video. The video goes into a lot more of the details, but so because I know that you guys had people go out and they were doing, the typical college recruiter. We go out, we give a presentation. Yeah. I mean, where these high school students hang out or where these college students are. So you have a presentation, but you now get overwhelmed with a million people sending you emails and wanting information, right? And that's one of the challenges that they have and a lot of business owners have, right? Yeah.
So there is an appetite in Africa and everywhere, but there is an appetite specifically in Africa for higher education at an affordable cost because the median salary across the continent of Africa is much lower than it is in most Western countries. So the MBA program is 30 grand, which is a lot of money to anyone, but exponentially so for Africans. However, it is a fraction of what it would cost for them to go to a comparable school in the UK or in Europe or in the States, right? So it is that middle ground where you might spend 200 or 300 grand to attend Harvard for that same amount of time. The African Leadership University is 30 grand, and a portion of that can be paid out of your postgraduate employment. There's a lot of opportunities for students to make this very affordable. Yeah. So the goal was to just tell people about it, and we did that through what we called a road show, which was a live event, MBA for a night. We called it in 6 different cities around Africa. And we ultimately had thousands of people register for and attend those micro events. Obviously, I wasn't, not obviously, I wasn't there. I was running things as best I could here from my office in San Diego. But I got reports after each one with the number of people that were in attendance, with the number of people that registered, with the excitement and the buzz. And it was exhilarating to see standing room only, to see people, in the rows between desks and chairs because they just really wanted an opportunity like this.
Okay, so you used marketing automation to put butts in seats.
Yeah. So we would purchase lists of people who had taken the GMAT, right? The exam indicating that they're interested in getting and earning an MBA. And then we would run retargeting ads through Facebook and other ad platforms to those individuals, right? Obviously, we don't have permission to email them at that point. So we would do that through ad spend to make sure that they saw, hey, there's an event in your area, right? And you can use, obviously, geo-targeting to make sure that it's only showing up for people who are within X number of miles of where the event
was. For those of you who don't know about what retargeting is, it means that you can aim ads at people given their Gmail, their email address and things like that, and where they're located. Yeah. So you were doing basically a targeted paid ad campaign.
Yeah, that's correct. And as you sort of touched on, the university attracts really top talent, really top caliber faculty.
So their brand is good.
Yeah, we had members of the faculty who literally had come from Oxford or from Yale or from the McKinsey Institute, right? So we were partnering with some really well-known and prominent industry leaders. And so through those partnerships, we also were able to use their promotional efforts to raise awareness about what we were doing, right? Cool. So we had, through Fred and his collective reach, we had access to a lot of different groups who were willing to tell people, hey, my buddy Fred started this university, here's how you can learn more about it. So we did have some advantages just from like relational capital there. But a lot of what we did was just, upload a CSV file of names into Facebook, create a custom audience, and spend a couple dollars to make sure people know they could register for this event. We used Eventbrite, and then we used Zapier to connect Eventbrite to Infusionsoft, right? So a lot of tools that people like you and I have worked with and are familiar with. It just happens that we were doing it for a little bit of a unconventional product, so to speak.
And so nothing that you're talking about is like rocket science. I mean, it's kind of run-of-the-mill event, register, make sure they get your CRM, and then you got to... And
then from the event, the goal was to get them connected to an admissions rep who could help them understand the program, help them decide if it was a good fit for them, and ultimately begin their application. And of course, we used the Infusionsoft Opportunity Pipeline, so our admissions reps could track the progress of people as they worked their way through those conversations. We had a developer...
So that's standard sales pipeline management.
Yep. And then we had a developer help connect the application portal that we used to Infusionsoft, so that when they completed a stage of the application, it would update Infusionsoft, and then Infusionsoft, you could trigger automation to say, hey, congrats, you finished on their stage. Or if they hadn't completed a stage in a while, we had little nudges built in to help encourage them to continue working on their application. If too long, several weeks went by in between, we had a task created for the admissions rep that they had been working with to reach out to them and help, see if they were stuck on their essay portion or to help guide them through that experience. And then, once they submitted it, actually throughout the entire journey, we had a nurture process in place that delivered irregular emails and content with videos and articles that we thought would help build rapport, help incentivize them as to why they might want to apply and ultimately attend. And then, also
that could include like a testimonial from a student that graduated from there, or...
Yeah, well, it can now because we've had several years of students go through, but at the time, we didn't have any existing students. Yeah, so the first year of marketing this program was, I don't know, it's tough for me to say because I'm no longer involved, but I like to think it's probably gotten easier because now they have a body of alumni they can point to and say, look at what they've gone on to do. But the first year, we were very much selling a vision, selling a dream. And fortunately, Fred Swaniker is the founder. He's that's where he shines. He actually has a very well-known TED Talk about this mission and this vision. And that was a piece of the content actually in the nurture process that we wanted to make sure people were aware of.
Yeah, a TED Talk goes a long way. Okay, so again, I use opportunity management in my business, and we've done that for customers where they're managing. So it's just a common feature, and then a lot of people, when you tell them about marketing automation, they're going, "Oh, hold on, I can manage my sales pipeline with this thing." And so that's not what people think about with marketing automation, but it's, Infusionsoft provides a lot of these features that unless you see it, and that's why I encourage people to see this video, because you can kind of, I mean, it's only a half hour and you can kind of wrap your head around where might this fit in your business.
Yeah. So thanks, George. Brad Martineau has a quote. It's about the term marketing automation. And he said, I only have two problems with the term marketing automation. The first is the word marketing and the second is the word automation, right? And I think that he's right. It's a misnomer because it is not just marketing and it is not exclusively automation, right? What we're talking about here is the simplest way that I know how to put it is like every small business on the planet has a purchase or a transaction of some kind. If you don't, then you don't have a business yet. But there has to be a point where people pay you some sort of, collateral or income or cash, right, for a good or a service. That is the nature of how commerce works. And if you just have that, that's the bare minimum for business. But something happens after they buy and something happens before they buy. And the composition of those three things is the customer journey, right? It is everything leading up to, then the point of purchase, and everything after. And the role that marketing automation plays in that is paving the path that you would otherwise have your prospects stumble through.
Okay, we're coming up to kind of a break point. I don't want to make this too long, but you just gave the cliffhanger for part 2 of this, because I want to get into customer journey. That's exactly the next topic I want to cover, but let's cover that in part 2, okay?
That sounds good. Cool.
So thank you very much. Everybody stay tuned. There's going to be a part 2 for this. It'll be in another blog post. And, me and Greg will continue with a recording shortly.